Welcome back to Social Anxiety Life, the podcast, where we explore the nuances of social anxiety and offer practical insights for managing it. Today, we're diving deep into the world of small talk and how it affects social anxiety. Small talk keeps the gears of social interaction running smoothly, but for those with social anxiety, it can be a minefield of awkwardness.
Before we dive deeper into today's topic, we would like to share some exciting news with all our fantastic listeners. We've recently crossed a significant milestone with over 1,000 downloads and streams. Your support has been incredible and we're truly grateful for this. But we're not stopping here. Please keep sharing our podcast on your socials with your friends and family so we can reach even more people.
Absolutely. So I think probably a good place to start today is thinking about a definition of what small talk is, and then maybe our own feelings around small talk. So if we're looking at a definition, we could say it's informal discourse that focuses on polite, standard discussions about unimportant matters. To some people, it may seem superficial, but others would say it serves an essential purpose.
I'll be honest here, I dread small talk.
Yes.
I really dread it because I'm just trying to think of a situation. So, like, you're going on like a training course, you're going somewhere where you don't know people, and the small talk, it's really hard to pinpoint whether it's based on a routine or a structure or whether it's not structured at all.
Yeah.
Because there's topics or there's words or there's phrases which I think are commonly associated with small talk, such as how are you?
Mm-hmm.
If someone says that to me, I might just say I'm fine, and that's it. It doesn't go any further than that.
Yeah.
Or you might say, like, oh, what's the weather like today? Oh, it's a bit cold today. But it doesn't really, for me, I don't get the purpose of it, of that sort of stuff.
Yeah. I understand the purpose of it to a degree, because I suppose when you're in a situation like that, if you want to get to know people or you want to try and form some kind of connection with people, that's, I suppose, for some people, the easiest way to do it is, well, I'll ask them how they are, how their day's been, what do you do for a job? All those kinds of questions are ways to sort of start a conversation with someone. But as we've said, I think for some people that's very easy, and for others, small talk really can create those feelings of worry or just not enjoying it or finding it quite difficult to think of things to say in small talk.
I completely agree with that, because I think that for those that do have social anxiety, I think small talk itself triggers the anxiety, because I would worry, and I do worry. I worry about what to say. I worry about the fear of running out of things to say, and that anxiety for me, I think, is centered around how I'm coming across to that person.
Yeah.
So you're talking about those, I'm going to call it mundane, not particularly interesting things. But I worry that sometimes if you don't engage in that, in that sort of small talk, you run the risk of becoming viewed as the other person or people that you're with as uninteresting.
Yeah, I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? It can link to overthinking and that fear of judgment. So if I'm not good at this small talk, or if I run out of things to say, are they just going to think I'm unfriendly? Are they going to think I'm really boring? It's all that overthinking of this small talk's almost amplifying the worries I have about how I'm coming across or the impression I'm giving to people.
And I think for those listeners who particularly resonated with episodes 7 and 8, where we did speak a lot about overthinking and the effects that it has, I think to take that step further, to understand the impact of small talk on social anxiety, we conducted polls on social media. And on Facebook, we found that 50% of our respondents said small talk made them feel anxious and stressed. To accompany that, 61% of people reported feeling anxious when engaging in small talk on Instagram. And I think it's good for us to think about why small talk triggers such strong emotions in those people that have social anxiety.
Yeah.
So, what might the reasons be behind the heightened anxiety in these individuals?
So I think if I'm drawing on personal experience, sometimes for me, when it comes to small talk, I do have concerns around running out of things to say or running out of questions to ask. And I worry about that awkwardness, the awkward silence. And as I said, sort of worrying about how I'm coming across in the small talk. Am I sounding interesting enough? Am I coming across as boring? Am I showing enough interest in this person? What do they think of me? I mean, what's your feelings around small talk and your experience of it?
I can really relate to the people who said that small talk makes them feel anxious and stressed, because for me, small talk has lack of depth.
Yeah.
It's I enjoy discussions more when it's really, really deep and meaningful, and you could be talking about it for hours on end. But I couldn't tell you what that is at the moment.
Yeah.
But there'll be topics that something's come up, and it's something I can really relate to, and I've got a point of view on it, and I know stuff about it. Then we're fine. We're absolutely fine with that. And yeah, it's the lack of depth that causes the discomfort, because once you've said I'm fine, or oh, it's nice weather today, what do you say after that?
Yeah.
And it leads into the things that, if you've had therapeutic input, my therapist talked to me about, well, sometimes within that, you've got to fake it.
Yeah.
And the sort of concept of faking it then brings the point to me, should we fake it? Should we just sort of lay it out there saying, well, I don't want to engage in small talk. But then if you say that, then you're going to get quite a response to it, aren't you?
Yeah.
So I think with social anxiety doesn't necessarily mean you're not good at small talk, as Mel Robbins says. It just says you don't know how to fake it enough.
Yeah.
And it boils down to, really, you don't want other people to notice your anxiety in a way.
Yeah.
There's people that I know really well who have a very good understanding of it now, that they know that I have it, and they are fine with it. But also, I think we may have touched on this before. There's physical symptoms that go with it as well.
Yeah.
I'm very good at not showing my physical symptoms overtly, but I will show it in private.
Yeah.
One of the previous episodes I talked about going to the coffee shop, and something happened there, and I went to the toilet. That's when I let my mask down and thinking, get me out of here. I've had enough of this. It's too much. And with the sort of faking it, it's the non-verbal gestures that go with it. So you are nodding along, you're interested, like you're doing at the moment. You are interested, and you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But you sort of nod along. You might laugh. You might say okay to show that you're interested. But I think it also links to, if you find that sort of thing hard to be able to read emotions or what people are thinking, you can't really second guess what people are thinking. You shouldn't have to, but that's something that plays into it, because we should be able to be comfortable with how we feel.
Yeah. I mean, a sort of a question came to my mind as you were talking, thinking about my own personal experience. I think At times I can find small talk quite challenging, but I wouldn't say that that's always the case for me. I think it very much depends on who I'm with and what situation I'm in. Do you feel there's a difference in your experience of, say, small talk with people maybe that you are familiar with, or versus, say, small talk with a group of people that maybe you've just met who are complete strangers? Do you find that the your struggle or how you feel about the small talk is different in those situations?
Yeah, I think there's a definite difference there.
Yeah.
But even then, if it's one person I know and maybe two people I don't know, I'd find it quite difficult.
Yeah.
If it's just one person I know and one person I don't know, it's generally fine.
Yeah.
Because you've got the common ground to bounce off. I think when it's a larger thing,
Yeah.
so if it's the training event, a training
Yeah.
event which you have to go to, and you're sort of one of the first ones there, or you've got a break, sometimes I'll either look on my phone or
Yeah.
rather than engage in small talk because I don't particularly want to. I just find it. I find it's unpredictable sometimes, and I think I struggle sometimes with the uncertainty of not knowing where the conversation will lead.
Yeah. And I think it's that thing of when you are in, as you said, maybe if you're at sort of a work training, but you're with people you've never met before, it's almost trying to think of, well, I don't know this person at all. I know nothing about them. So what questions should I be asking them? I think it's also about the concern around trying to generate questions to ask a person. Like, where do I start? Like, if I ask this, is that a weird question to ask? If I ask this, is that a strange question to, it's almost like, where do you begin?
Yeah, I get that. So I listen to the conversation that's happening, and it's almost I'm waiting for that point where, right, now I've got something to say. But then the conversation's moved on so much. It's moved on after that. So the thing you wanted to talk about, what someone said like 2 minutes ago, has already moved on. So you can't just drop that bit in that you've really thought hard about. Or you come pre-prepared with stuff. It just doesn't work because it's just moved on so quickly. And I think particularly if you're introverted or identify as autistic or diagnosed as autistic, that's when it gets a little bit difficult because it's as people that identify as autistic, it's very difficult to read those emotions and what people are saying. You can't predict where it's going to go, and it also brings about are there effective strategies for sort of coping with small talk, or is that's a difficult one?
Yeah, I think for myself, as I said, it varies in terms of how much I struggle with it. I can't say that I've sort of found a strategy that works for me. I know some people will say that you should almost go in with pre-prepared questions, that you should have things in mind you should think about. But for me, that doesn't work. I can't go into a situation and have questions in my head ready to ask, because then it doesn't feel authentic. And also then, as you said, conversation can go in so many directions. You can't plan out a conversation. So although that's great advice, maybe it works for some, I've never found that has really worked for me.
When we did the last episode on the introversion and autism, I remember you talked about the day afterwards you're exhausted.
Yeah.
I feel that a lot of the exhaustion is down to the social energy you're having to put in to the social situation.
Yeah.
And the main drain of that is small talk.
Yeah. And I think we've also talked about that sort of what you can't see. So it's the thinking, the sort of internal monologue you have going when you're in a small talk situation.
It's coming back to those sort of neurotypical ways of looking and listening. Like you always assume that, to listen, you should have eye contact. You should be facing the person. You should be gesticulating to show that you're listening. But actually, that's not the case now.
Yeah. And also, I think with small talk, there's the point that sometimes it can inadvertently exclude other people. Like if the topic is something that you know nothing about or you have no interest in, that can be very difficult. And maybe people who are not introverted or don't have social anxiety would be fine with that because they would just quite happily listen. But when you have the social anxiety, you think, right, I'm listening, but I should be saying something. And I've been really quiet and they're going to start thinking this and that and the other.
Thanks for listening to the first part of our double episode on small talk. The upcoming part 2 of this series will delve deeper into coping strategies, the role of mood and confidence, and listener contributions, emphasising the importance of understanding individual conversation preferences. Keep sharing and stay connected for a deeper insight into the world of social anxiety and small talk.